Well, hello there. My name is Francisco, and I am narrating this presentation on behalf of Forrest, Chris, Derek, and myself, Francisco. And I would like to just simply dive in. What is just-in-time manufacturing? Let's take a look at what this presentation is going to entail. We're going to talk about what just-in-time manufacturing is, some aspects about its history, where it started, pros and cons, of course. We need to know why it's good and bad, why it's also important, the process about it and how it actually works, and finally concluding with a couple of examples of who actually still uses this today. So, diving into this, what is just-in-time manufacturing? Well, first of all, it's a lean manufacturing strategy that aligns raw materials ordered from suppliers directly with production schedules. So, smaller factories were being created to produce smaller quantities of goods, which would reduce the amount of risk in terms of spending money. Since these factories were smaller, there was a lot more control over the process, which allowed for increased efficiency between tasks. Just-in-time manufacturing relied heavily on organization, good housekeeping, precision, and constant flow process throughout the whole workplace. In turn, production numbers would be very high. Higher quality products are being made since they aren't being mass-produced, and efficiency within the factory is very high because of the lack of waiting time. You see, things have to be shipped, produced, and there is a wait. So this actually cuts back on that. Some of its history. It is unknown exactly when the Japanese manufacturers began adopting just-in-time manufacturing practices, but it is certain that they were triggered by the economic climate of post-World War II era. Following the war, Japan lacked the cash to finance big batch, large inventory production methods used by other developing countries, so they also hired a high number of unemployment and lack of abundant resources. In order to survive, they had to lean out their processes. So they built smaller factories, which focused on quickly turning small amounts of raw materials into small amounts of physical products. Processing smaller batches allowed the manufacturer to reduce financial risk, while slowing generating sustainable levels of working capital. The system that they used came to be known as just-in-time manufacturing, popularized in Western media as the Toyota production system. So, what are the good things and the bad things about this? Well, I always like to start with the good so that the bad doesn't seem as bad. So, a couple pros. Let's go ahead and dive into them. It's all about saving time. And saving time, since time equals money, well, you get the flow. Saving money. Companies like to use just-in-time manufacturing because it can be a more cost-efficient method of keeping merchandise in stock. Just-in-time minimizes the amount of time that you need to keep merchandise in your warehouse. The specific advantages of just-in-time are simply that it requires less warehouse space. So with a faster turnaround of stock, you see things coming in and going out faster. You don't need as much warehouse or storage space to store all these goods. This reduces the amount of storage. So small business methods to rent or buy, freeing up funds, and for other parts of the businesses. Money needs to flow, and if it's stuck in products in your shelf, that's not good. You're wasting time and you're wasting money. This reduces waste. A faster turnaround of stock prevents goods becoming damaged or obsolete while sitting in storage. A lot of you guys maybe remember this graphics card craze that happened when people were mining. And a whole bunch of suppliers bought tons of graphics cards and just put them on their shelf. When that mining kind of dwindled out, manufacturers had tons of graphics cards sitting on shelves that people did not want to buy because the new ones were coming out. So again, this saves money by preventing investment in unnecessary merchandise. It requires a smaller investment. Just-in-time manufacturing is ideal for smaller companies that don't have the money available to purchase huge amounts of stock at once. Ordering merchandise and as when it's needed, maintain a healthy cash flow. It also allows you to maintain a flexible workforce. You see, Just-in-Time has added the benefits of allowing you to maintain or having workers who are trained in specific areas. And instead of just maintaining the logistics of a warehouse bulging with inventory, it allows you to move workers where they are actually needed the most. And that allows you to synchronize production with scheduling demands. In other words, you can likely reduce worker hours and labor costs that you would otherwise incur having to manage an overstocked warehouse full time. If there is no product in the warehouse until you need it, then you don't need people there until you actually need them. So enough of the good. Everything that's good in this world comes with a bad. Couple bad things about it is that, you get supply shocks. You see, Just-in-Time leaves manufacturers vulnerable to supply shock. Both supply and demand shocks can cause a major problem in Just-in-Time manufacturing. A large demand shock or supply can lead to inability to meet current demand. If the location is small and you have a small production, if you get a shock of a huge amount of orders, you won't be able to meet all those orders. Price shocks. Just-in-time manufacturing. Prices for parts involved in the production processes are assumed to remain constant. However, when there is a shift in price, the company's profit margin can be greatly affected. Another con, of course, is that it is actually more complex than you think. Implementing Just-in-Time is extremely complex since management must rethink their entire workflow of the business. Everything from the delivery of raw materials to the delivery of finished product needs to be rethought out and redesigned. These actions involve multiple entities up and down the supply chain, whom you may be asking to change their practices with little advance notice. This involves potential disruptions in the supply chain. If raw materials to a supplier has broken down and cannot be delivered to the goods in a timely manner, this could conceivably stall the entire production process, and sudden unexpected order for goods, again, the supply shock, can go ahead and hinder the delivery of finished products to end clients. Of course, that would be bad. Shifting on, we would like to go ahead and explain the process of how it works. You see, I'll cover this in a couple of slides, but basically the suppliers, you have suppliers, you have proper materials in proper time, quality, uniform plant load, and personnel. All this is required for just-in-time manufacturing. Let's start with the first one, of course, suppliers. You need tighter relationships with these suppliers because companies in just-in-time production systems depend on suppliers to deliver quality goods on time. Just-in-time purchasing is a concept that coordinates delivery of materials just as they are needed for production. So suppliers must deliver goods as frequently as they are required. Suppliers must make numerous deliveries each day in the exact quantity specified. Because of frequent deliveries, central receiving areas and warehouses are not needed. Generally, materials are delivered straight to the area of the production process. Suppliers also have the burden of inspecting goods before shipping them out. If goods are damaged or defective, the company's whole production line could be shut down. Companies must build relationships with suppliers. The company and the supplier both benefit from just-in-time systems. The company benefits because of reduced cost, of course, and the supplier benefits by long-term business relationships with the companies as long as they continue to supply products on time. Of course, proper materials at the proper time are necessary. With the just-in-time manufacturing system, materials are purchased in small quantities, delivered frequently just before they are needed for production by ordering small batches that are consumed almost as soon as they arrive. An organization can utilize space for production purposes that they would normally hold for just in case inventory management. Additionally, the cost of a capital outlay for the just-in-case ordering mentality, when combined with the cost associated holding large amount of inventory, are in most cases higher than the freight cost and smaller discounts associated with the smaller lot size purchases. An example, Ford Motor Company estimated that every dollar's worth of parts carried in inventory costs the company 26 cents, mainly in interest and insurance. So the just-in-time manufacturing process eliminates waste, space, and tied-up capital that can be allocated to alternate uses to improve the overall success of the organization. Of course, you don't want something that is bad in quality. It is an integral part of the just-in-time program. Rather than necessitating quality control at the final inspection of completed items, the quality control staff is concerned with the prevention rather than the detection of defects. By changing the role of the quality control staff, QC staff, many organizations can reduce the number of actual QC members and assign traditional responsibility of QC to production departments. The remaining staff of QC members work closely with the production, teaching them techniques and statistical quality control so that they may identify and resolve minor quality problems. Quality control staff also train suppliers in SQC so that they can use these techniques to improve their actual products. Another thing that we must keep in mind is that uniform plant load. A uniform plant load has two basic ideas: cycle time and frequency of production. Cycle time deals with the rate of production, and level of loading deals with the frequency production. Cycle time with just-in-time is a measure of the rate of requirements. This is usually measured by the rate of sales. Instead of producing what the machine is capable of producing, a company should preferably produce only to the demand that is actually needed. The cycle time should be implemented with the last operation in mind, with the last operation being the need of the consumer and going backwards through the master schedule. The second part is a uniform plant load that is producing the product at the right frequency, or level loading. The main idea with level loading is that products must be produced as frequently as the customer has the need of it. The goal is to produce smaller and smaller amounts with more setups, but without additional setup costs. Finding ways to reduce setup time and then reinvest that time into more frequent setups should be able to do this. Lastly, personnel. Another important building block for just-in-time process is the actual personnel and the organization. Workers are considered an asset to the organization utilizing this just-in-time manufacturing and are given more latitude with authority to make decisions. However, the workers are also expected to perform a more varied role within the company because they are cross-trained to perform several different functions, allowing flexibility and reducing bottlenecks, as well as substituting for absent workers. The workers in a just-in-time facility are considered experts in the process they perform and hence become an important part of the team. While production workers are given greater authority and responsibility within the just-in-time organization, upper management is also affected. These managers are expected to use leadership and management skills rather than being a boss or a supervisor. Communicating among the ranks is encouraged and helps foster a positive attitude about the interpersonal relationships within the organization. So why is this important? You see, just-in-time manufacturing is a strategy of maintaining optimum inventory level, which is raw materials and components that are received by the manufacturer just before they are actually required. It works on a pull management system, and in this strategy, on-demand material has to be delivered to the manufacturer just when needed, neither sooner nor later. It also helps with improving the efficiency of workers and reducing capital costs while reducing waste. Like the pallets used to hold the inventory for a long time, the floor occupied by excess inventory and other things of that sort. It maintains the inventory in such a way that manufacturers should not face problems of excess inventory or lack of. Excess inventory results in the excess capital involvement, high risk of damage, obsolete systems or loss of material, inefficient use of the floor space, and excess maintenance costs. While less inventory results in possible late shipments, unsatisfied customer, and stressed employees. Just-in-time manufacturing is a key tool which is used to reduce the cost burden of high inventory. It helps to evaluate the actual stock level in the supply chain and determine the optimum stock level. Major manufacturers that are actually using this just-in-time system today are an example: Toyota, Dell, McDonald's, and Walmart. Walmart, for example, is one of the firms that uses just-in-time effectively. Indeed, though it is certainly not a small business, Walmart probably uses the just-in-time better than any other company on earth. Its inventory management is one of the biggest contributors to the company's success. It's called a cross-docking system, which means that the suppliers' trucks and Walmart trucks meet the company's warehouses. Products get loaded from the supplier trucks to the Walmart trucks, which then deliver the goods to the stores. No big warehouses, nothing to store them for a long time. As soon as they come in, they are put on the shelves. This method greatly minimizes warehouse storage needs and costs. Walmart's trucks literally cross-dock with supplier trucks and deliver goods straight to the stores just in time for employees to stock the shelves, which are now empty. COVID, it may be one of the world's most efficient just-in-time systems. But a just-in-time inventory system is not exactly what it seems. There are many misconceptions about it, and small business would do well to weigh the pros and cons before adopting such a complex system. An example, Dell. Dell has gained kudos in its industry for its innovative use of just-in-time methods. Instead of storing vast supplies of parts, Dell negotiated with its suppliers to maintain adequate levels of inventory that could be ordered and delivered on short notice. This proved popular with suppliers, who could depend on a reliable stream of orders, dependable work. And it worked for Dell, which no longer needs to maintain massive inventory of miscellaneous computer parts that go obsolete very quickly. Toyota, especially from Japan, executives reasoned that the company could adapt more quickly and efficiently to the changes and trends and demands for model changes if it did not keep any more inventory in store than was actually immediately needed. Moreover, the executives realized that it was more cost-effective to replenish parts of finished goods only when they are immediately needed for daily production or pending retail orders. That meant that a manufacturer did not need a warehouse full of windshields and car brakes. It could not have those parts all times. But those parts could be delivered hours before they were scheduled to be used on the assembly lines. It could have parts delivered to the right assembly station immediately before they were actually scheduled to be installed. Another one is McDonald's, for example. A fast food chain such as McDonald's definitely uses just-in-time inventory to save their customers on a daily basis. These fast food restaurants usually have everything they need on hand, but for example, don't start assembling and making their hamburgers and sundaes until the order has been taken. Except for a couple of peak times, of course, when they make you wait outside of that curb. Especially when you order those chicken tenders that take 15 minutes to make. I'm a student, low budget, McDonald's is like OP. So this standardizes the process so that every time a customer receives an order, they are getting the same consistent experience. So these are important factors to McDonald's success as well as these other companies. I hope that you took a little bit of understanding of what this just-in-time manufacturing is like. And I hope that you can later implement it as you graduate online this semester. And if you have jobs that were canceled and internships that were canceled, well, when we are able to get those again, of course, then we can go ahead and see about implementing this in our own assembly lines and engineering manufacturers and wherever we may be shipped out of here. Again, you guys have a great day. Thank you for listening to me. Goodbye.